60. Jennifer. First, they told her to board the government jet with Billy and Ray and accompany the president back to Washington, D.C. When she questioned the wisdom of putting Billy on the same aircraft as the man he was trying to kill, they told her to stay in London and wait for a later plane. Then two-thirds of the government's upper echelon nosedived into the Atlantic and everything turned to crap. Her transport got postponed or canceled. Nobody told her which. There were agents 20 deep for the phones, and after standing in line for 2 hours, she got 5 minutes to talk to Kate before a departmental officer commandeered the line. Then she walked back to her secured barracks to discover a bunch of government agents from Japan were moving in. "You're meant to be gone," they said, "but my transport isn't here yet." "Not my problem, sunshine," the Japanese agent said, and Jennifer went looking for someone who could sort this out. "Some Japanese guys are trying to take over my barracks," she told the staff chief. "Aren't you meant to be in Washington?" "Yes, I don't have a transport." "Well, those barracks are meant to be free, but they're not." "Look," he said, "Jennifer, let me be clear. I don't know who my boss is anymore. I have a campus filled with agents who don't know what they should be doing. I have bigger problems than sorting out your accommodation." "Then am I authorized to use my initiative to find a solution?" "What a terrific idea," the staff chief said. "Thank you, sir," Jennifer said. She walked out quickly. "That was just fine." "I'm sorry," the U.S. Alliance man said. "John isn't here anymore. Most top management flew back to L.A. yesterday." "Which newspaper did you say you were from?" "To L.A. Are you sure?" "I'm positive. I can try to arrange a phone interview if you'd like." "That's okay," Jennifer said. "I'll set something up myself." "Wake up," she said, flicking on the light. "We're leaving." Billy NRA raised his head from the bunk, dazed. "Leaving? Where? We have a plane to catch." You can't take me outside. The NRA will kill me." "Don't worry, I'm very good at this." They met Calvin at the airport. He'd been sent to a different government campus, and he turned up 20 minutes late. I'm sorry. The roads curve. They go in circles. I nearly ended back where I started." "Can we go inside, please?" Billy said. "I really think we should go in. What's with him?" "He thinks U.S. Alliance is trying to kill him." "Are they?" "I guess," she said. At the counter, the American Airways clerk said, "I'm sorry, ma'am, you can't board this flight. As of noon today, we're not permitted to offer flights to the government." "Excuse me?" "Our flights are for U.S. Alliance card holders only." "I have a U.S. Alliance card," Calvin said, feeling his pockets. "What's your name, sir?" "Calvin McDonald." "Can I see some ID, please?" Calvin said, "No." "I'm sorry, sir, I can't book government." They walked away from the counter. Billy said, "What's going on?" "Billy, get 3 tickets, will you?" Jennifer said. "By myself?" "I presume you have a U.S. Alliance card," she said. "You probably get assassin stars." "Man, the NRA is going to pop me." "You call this an escort?" "I'm sure they won't pop you," Jennifer said. Go. Billy threw a look of betrayal and walked up to the counter. For a moment, she thought he was going to approach the same ticket girl, but then he veered off. She watched the people around him looking for a head coming up, for hands reaching into pockets. "We can't even catch a flight now," Calvin said. "What's going on?" "I don't know. And how come the government wants us in L.A.? I thought we were going to Washington." "They told me to use my initiative." Calvin looked at her. "What?" "John's gone to L.A. "Jen," he said. "We're meant to go to Washington." Yes, Jennifer said. "After." "So one jet goes down," she said, tucking the pillow behind her back, "and the government is paralyzed. How did we get that centralized? We're not meant to be about individuals. We're meant to be about the masses." "They used to fly the top people in different planes," Calvin said. "Well, why did that stop?" "Budget, I suppose. Do you know this all started when they got rid of tax? That's when everyone started buying out of society. When we had tax, we had community." "Dudes," Billy said, "do I have to act?" "I'm really tired." "Shut up," she said. "At least sit next to each other. Come on, I'm getting this in stereo." "Shh," Calvin said. "What, you want to reintroduce tax? How do you do that?" "I don't know," she muttered, "but somewhere along the line this freedom stuff got way out of control." "You'll feel better once we arrest John Nike," Calvin said. "Yeah," she said, "you're right about that." She closed her eyes. 61 Hack. McDonald's had taken a long time to get a foothold in the Melbourne Central Mall. Until then, the only place to get grease burgers was at a little shop named Aussie Burgers, which Hack had read somewhere fought hard to keep the golden arches out. But then one day they stopped by. The Aussie Burgers was gone. Facing its empty shell was the biggest McDonald's Hack had ever seen, spanning 3 levels of shop, 4 shop frontages. It was packed with customers. Hack had never eaten at Aussie Burgers, but now that it was gone, he wished he had. He was glad to be making it up to them now. He tightened his grip on his duffel bag and walked into McDonald's. It was crammed with suits, mothers and toddlers, and truant school students. Hack scanned the crowd for Claire, and found her on the other side of the store, leaning against the counter. She met his eyes and smiled. Hack smiled back. "Hack, hey!" She turned. It was Thomas, the kid who spray-painted over obvious slogans on Hack's billboard jams. "Man, this is cool. Are you ready?" "Where's Liesel?" Hack said. "Thomas's face fell." "I don't think she's coming." "What?" "I don't think this is her kind of thing, man. She doesn't want to get into trouble." "Oh," Hack said. "Well, that's okay. 3 would do." He looked over at Claire and nodded. She began climbing onto the counter. She was very nimble. She had those long legs up while Hack was still grabbing at the cash register for leverage. Thomas clambered up too close behind and nearly knocked him off. What are you doing? A McDonald's clerk said. Don't worry, Hack said, looking down at him. No one's going to get hurt. He opened his bag, pulled on thick gloves, turned to the crowd. McDonald's rapes the environment. It pillages third world countries for their natural resources to serve us greasy, unhealthy food. McDonald's is a member of U.S. Alliance, which killed people in London. It invades our neighborhoods and forces out small businesses. It advertises to children. Baby killers, Thomas yelled, and kicked the cash register. Hack resisted a sigh. The customers were looking at him, smirking. Claire said, McDonald's poisons our lives for profit, so we are going to poison McDonald's. Hack withdrew a large tin from his duffel bag and jumped down behind the register. The clerk cringed away from him. Excuse me, Hack said. Everybody out, Claire shouted. We're releasing dangerous chemicals. Get out and never come back. It'll never be safe to eat here again. They began fitting their gas masks, and that broke the crowd. Hack guessed you didn't want to see people snapping those things on while you sat there with your burger and shake, vulnerable. They stampeded toward the exit. The screaming hurt his ears. Hack turned toward the kitchen. The staff were strangely frozen even as he popped over the tin. He shouted, Get out of here! His words were muffled by the mask. Dangerous! He dipped into the tin and drew out a gloveful of green powder. They ran. Hack tossed the powder around, hitting the frying dishes, the benches, the roof, everything. It sizzled and blistered where it touched the hot plate, throwing off a thick, noxious green smoke. He watched it, fascinated. It really looked like the most toxic thing he'd ever seen. Someone grabbed his shoulder. He could barely see Claire's eyes through the mask. She taped her wrist. He nodded and heaved the remaining powder, dropped the tin, and scrambled back over the counter. They held hands as they ran for the exit. Customers were gathered 30 feet outside the store, but as three burst out, they scattered again. Hack's spirits lifted further. No security guard would catch them in this confusion. He pulled off the gas mask and stuffed it into his bag. They clattered down 3 levels of concrete stairs, followed a long-maintenance corridor, and stepped out into the bustling Burke Street. Wow, Thomas said. That was cool. That was so cool. I can't believe how it burned, Claire said. That's just flour? Flour and food dye. No way people are going to eat there again. No way. You were really good, Hack said to Claire. He kissed her. Your speech, I like that a lot. Thanks. She looked embarrassed. Man, Thomas said. How are we going to top that? I know how, Hack said. He had been waiting for this. We hit Nike. 62, Violet. Holly T.A. had talked into her cell phone non-stop from Parliament. Violet sat opposite her, their knees almost touching. The limousine's third occupant was a soldier called One, and he sat beside Violet, not moving. It means we ramp everything up right now, Holly said. Maybe U.S. Alliance is obsessed with the government. I'm not. I want directives by the morning. She snapped her phone closed and looked at Violet. Oh, come on, that wasn't so bad, was it? Violet said nothing. You were useful to me today. I appreciate that. You helped me identify an important opponent. He's evil, the way John had cocked his fingers at her. Violet shivered. All our competitors are evil, Holly said. She smiled. Violet couldn't tell she was joking. I want to go home now. If that's what you want, I do. I want to get paid and go home. As I recall, Holly said, flipping open her cell phone again. As said, your pay was an ExxonMobil matter. No, you... Sweetie, it's nothing to do with me. She pushed buttons. Wait a second. Violet reached out and took Holly's wrist. Then One had his hand around Violet's throat and was pushing her head into the seat. She choked and clawed at him. What a funny girl you are, Violet, Holly said. She looked amused. You've got a lot to learn about how the world works. Tramp, Violet tried to say, but she had no air. Holly knocked onto the window and the limousine pulled over. One opened the door and shoved. Violet banged her knees on the sidewalk. She scrambled to her feet. The limousine was already moving again. Bee, she shouted after it. You, Bee? She was on a bridge. With traffic roaring past in both directions, it was already dark. The air was thick with fog. After a while, she started walking. The return ticket she'd received from ExxonMobil was still valid, and Violet had to fight for Melbourne on the same day. 20 hours later, she was stepping out of a cab at Claire's house. It was 8 in the morning, but felt like 10 p.m. She felt out of sync with the world. Hack would probably have moved back to their apartment by now, but that was okay. Violet could freshen up before seeing him. She had been shot short with Hack. She realized now. She had said some things he might have taken the wrong way. Hack could be sensitive. She would need to be careful if she wanted him to help her get her $3 million. She still had a key, so she unlocked the front door and went inside. Hello? There was no answer, but she heard the shower running and talking. Claire singing, maybe. Violet knocked on the bathroom door. Hello? Silence. Violet? Yeah, she rested her head against the door and closed her eyes. I'm home. Oh, how'd it go? The water shut off. Not so hot. She felt abruptly close to tears. Not so great at all. What's wrong? Can I come in? Just a second. I really need to talk, Violet said, and Smoke opened the door. Claire was wearing a towel. Hack wasn't wearing anything. She stared at them. It was like a hallucination. Claire said, Violet, before you say anything, what the F? She screamed. Violet, please let me explain. How could you? How could you do this to me? Violet, Hack said, you left. You went away and you didn't want to see me again. That was an argument. I can't believe you're having an affair. An affair, Hack yelled. Hack was being surprisingly assertive for a man who had no clothes on. Hack was being surprisingly assertive for Hack. We're not together. How dare you say that we are so? You dumped me. Everybody thinks they can screw me, Violet shouted. She felt tears prick her eyes. Everyone thinks they can F me over. Claire said, Violet, I'm really sorry. Violet slammed the door. The cab was still in sight, but only just. She ran after it, waving her hands. Its brake lights flashed. Violet hurried up to it. The cab driver said, Nobody home? No, Violet said. The apartment was much cleaner than she remembered. There was no sign of her fight with John in the kitchen, and the crumpet toaster was gone. It made her feel like she was dreaming. She couldn't help but wonder if all this had really happened. Maybe if she went back to Claire's house, Hack wouldn't be... No, that was stupid. Violet pressed her hands against her face. Suddenly, shockingly, she started to cry. Great, racking sobs burst out of her. She couldn't believe it. She sank to the kitchen tiles and wrapped her arms around herself. She shook uncontrollably. She didn't know if she was crying for Hack or for her lost $3 million or out of jet lag, or maybe all of it combined. But she couldn't stop. It was a torrent. It seemed to drag out of everything she had left. She cried and hated herself. This wasn't meant to be her, this small, beaten girl. She was meant to succeed. Other people had taken it all away from her. She stood up and scrubbed at her eyes. She went into the living room and picked up the phone. Holly T.A. had said Violet had a lot to learn about the world worked. Well, she'd see about that. She'd see how fast she could learn. It took a long time to get someone, and then someone sounded as if she weren't taking Violet seriously. Tell him it's Violet, she said. Tell him it's the person who watched him kill a man in London. You got that? Wait a second, the woman said. Did you say yes? Violet said. I'll make sure John gets your message, the woman said, and Violet hung up. She bit her nails. She was doing the right thing. She knew she was. 63, John. John had requisitioned a big table and spread a map of Los Angeles across it. It was covered with red ink, with words like I, inf, and third arm. He was beginning to wish he'd used pencil. The thing was getting pretty confusing. You are so the man, the Pepsi Kid said, circling. I cannot tell you how cool this is. Tell me about the liaisons. Most of them are full steam ahead. The campaigns these guys are scrolling out blows your mind. He peered at the map. Is this artillery? Are you going to hit the Reebok office with artillery, most of them? Oh, IBM still doesn't like it, you know. And a McDonald's store got attacked this morning. In the Australian territories, people are saying it's a grassroots protest. A protest about what? The Pepsi Kid shrugged. Consumerism, I guess. Consumerism? Since when did eating burgers become a crime? I don't know, man. Find out who's behind it. I don't want IBM or McDonald's or anyone else to have a reason to start being about the market backlash. His intercom buzzed, startling him. Quick, he said. Hide that map. John, General Lee, NRL, to see you. Ah, he relaxed. Send him in. The Pepsi Kid smoothed out the map. He had creased it down the 110. Can I stick around? I can give you good strategy. No, John said. General Lee stepped into the office. Oh, come on. General Lee looked at the Pepsi Kid. John said, General Lee, this is... He realized he didn't know the kid's name. The PepsiCo liaison. A pleasure to meet you, General Lee said. The kid shook Lee's hand with enthusiasm. Say, man, I love all this war crap. All right, now pee off, John said. I'll be real quiet. Go. All right, the kid threw John a sour look. He closed the door hard behind him. Tough day, General Lee said. John sighed. Just a couple of liaisons making trouble. Things were much simpler when I didn't have to listen to other people, Lee. Democracy is a pain in the butt. Lee sat. In the military, we have always had a healthy disrespect for democracy. I can see why, John said. All right, now let's talk about takes. Before we begin, General said, I should bring a matter to your attention. You remember our failed assassin, Billy NRA? Is he dead yet? I'm afraid not. Billy was held on a government base for several days. We've only just reacquired his location. He's on a United Airlines flight to L.A. Well, you take that little out, John said, then stopped. L.A., why is he coming here? I don't know. If the government was taking him anywhere, it'd be Washington. He snapped his fingers. Billy got away. He escaped. Lee cleared his throat. I believe not. According to the United, he's traveling with Jennifer and Calvin, NRA. We're sure those are false names. For a second, he couldn't speak. Jennifer's coming here? Excuse me? Believe me, John said. I need to think. Lee looked at the map. Sir, if you want to coordinate a military campaign, we need to out. Lee withdrew. John pressed his fingers against his temples. How could she still be after him? The government took months to organize a bake sale, with their top executives making an unscheduled splashdown in the Atlantic. They should be in chaos. How did they get 2 agents from London to L.A.? But he knew it was Jennifer. He had been kidding himself, thinking he'd done enough to protect himself. Jennifer would chase him to the end of the earth. There was a piece of paper on his desk with a person's number. He found it and studied it. Violet ExxonMobil, he said softly. What do you want with me? He thought it might be worth finding out. He didn't get out of the office until 11, and then he was so wired he stopped in the hotel bar to unwind. He was staring into his scotch. when someone sat beside him, brushing his arm. He looked up in annoyance. It was a thin girl in a light dress. She smiled awkwardly. "You're John, right? John Nike? Who are you?" She hesitated, then stuck out her hand. VanessaFashionWarehouse.com. "I hope I'm not bothering you." He was tempted to tell her to get lost, but she was young and nervous, and there was a possibility she might be about to offer to sleep with him. "Not at all. I suppose you probably haven't heard of FashionWarehouse.com. We're a content provider and an on-seller for several major labels." She searched his eyes. We applied to U.S. Alliance a few months ago, but they rejected us. They said they only took companies with revenues of 100 million plus, but we're new, high growth, and I was hoping you could make an exception. John felt amused. There was no way Fashion.com or whatever company this girl ran out of her bedroom was going to be accepted into U.S. Alliance. You'd have to make a pretty good case. Her smile stretched. It was almost painful to watch. "I might be able to do that." Awkwardly, she pressed her body against his arm. He felt a small breast on his shoulder. "Sir, excuse me," the barman said. "Phone call for you." John blinked. "Why are my calls coming down here?" "Reception noticed you were visiting the bar, sir." "Oh." The Sofitel was big on customer service. Sometimes it could get a little creepy. "Who is it?" "Violet ExxonMobil." "I'll take it in my room." He stood. "Vanessa, are you coming back after your call?" He looked at her. "Sorry, I'm busy." "But—" "Sorry," he said and walked away. He felt cheated. Jennifer was ruining his accomplishments, scouring his victories. What was the point of success if he didn't have time to screw a girl like that? He stared at himself in the elevator mirror. "What am I becoming?" he said, and his reflection looked back at him. "Violet, John, let's get something clear." He pulled the phone to the window so he could see the illuminated Hollywood sign. Columbia had bought it a few years ago, and now there was a gigantic Pegasus above it. It was a big improvement, in John's opinion. "If you're hoping to blackmail me over one dead ExxonMobil CEO, save your breath. That's not why I'm calling." "Then maybe you want to apologize for sticking a gun in my face and putting my friend in a coma. Is that it, Violet?" "I knew I was right to call you." She sounded excited, so either had a screw loose or was one of those people who didn't know when to quit. Either way, John was interested. He had uses for people like that. "We have a common enemy, Holly T.A. We can help each other. Last I saw you, you were sitting next to Holly T.A. Her voice tightened. "She owes me a lot of money. She owes me a lot." He thought. He was tempted to ask Violet if she was nuts. But that was a dangerous question, and besides, he thought he already knew the answer. "You want me to collect your debts? I can give you information on Holly. I can tell you—" "Screw that. I don't need help with Holly. I need help with Jennifer Government." His life was filled with domineering women. He realized it wasn't Jennifer, it was Holly. "Who? Don't bullcrap me, Violet. It would be very bad for our relationship. If your little friend Hack hasn't spoken to Jennifer, I'm Ralph Nader. Ask him about her, then get her daughter." Pause. "You want me to kidnap someone?" "You got it first time. You get me that kid and we're in business." That's not... "I thought I could just give you information. How much does Holly owe you?" $3 million. She owes me $3 million. "Well, that's a lot of money," John said. He made himself hesitate as if he was really thinking about it. "Okay, get me the kid, I'll get your money. And when you get it, you will tell Holly it's from me. Can you do that?" "Sure," John said. "I'll really rub it in." "Okay," Violet said, excited again. "Okay, I could probably do that. I don't have to hurt the girl or anything, right?" Right," John said. "Yep, deluded. Of course not." He checked his watch. "One more thing. Don't think about betraying me." He didn't know why he bothered. They were probably each intending to betray the other, and it was just a question of who would get in first. "You've got my number." He hung up. No doubt Violet was flaky. Very flaky. But sometimes that was the kind of person who got results. Even an unsuccessful attempt to grab Jennifer's kid would send the message. And maybe that would be enough. If he bought enough time, it wouldn't matter how dogged Jennifer was. Lee and the NRA would put her out of a job. 64. Bye. Two days and no reply from John Nike. Vi called the PA again. "Oh," she said, "the flowers are lovely. Thank you so much. Has John been in touch?" "No, he hasn't." "Oh, darn. Look, I shouldn't do this, but you want a cell phone number?" "That would be great," Vi said, and wrote it down. "Thank you again." He dialed John's number. While he waited, he surfed the internet for virtual animals. He didn't know what these were, except that Kate was in love with them. She wanted downloads. "Hello? John Nike, this is Vi Matsui, assistant liaison. I don't know if you got my message, but how the F did you get this number?" "Your PA gave it to me." "That B," John said. "Anyway," Vi said, he had the feeling it wasn't going to like John Nike. "I'm calling because Kato Matsui, liaison, has asked me to make myself used to you." Pause. "You want what?" No, Vi said. "I'm here to help you." "Help how?" "I don't know. Whatever you want done." "Oh," John said. "Well, where are you anyway?" "Melbourne, the Australian territories." There was a pause. Okay, sure. Get in touch with the local McDonald's office, find out who's been throwing toxic sludge around in their stores. You want me to help McDonald's? This was getting complicated. We're all one big happy family at US Airlines, haven't you heard? Of course, I said. But no, I don't want you to help McDonald's. I want you to tell me if they're playing straight. Find out who's behind the attack. I want names, their plans, everything. I wouldn't put it past those McAssholes to stage the whole thing. Okay, he thought, paranoid too. And never call me at this time again. It's 5 in the effing morning. Oh, I'm sorry, Vi started, but John had already killed the call. Vi set up at 3 o'clock to see Lucia, McDonald's marketing director, who would let him pick up Kate from school afterward. McDonald's main offices were in Sydney, but Lucia was in Melbourne for crisis management. She wanted to meet him at the store that had been attacked, so Vi wandered up Swanston Street and rode the escalator. The McDonald's store was no longer under plastic. To his amazement, there were people eating in it. He entered, looking for Lucia. By Mitsui, he turned. A woman he'd mistaken for a customer, smiling at him, covering a cell phone with one hand. In front of her was a half-eaten cheeseburger and fries. I'm Lucia. Have a seat. I'll be one moment. Vi sat and eyed Lucia's cheeseburger. He hoped she wasn't going to ask him to eat. He'd seen the news. They were hosing green stuff on hot plates. Vi would sooner eat his briefcase. All the food is cooked off-site, Lucia said, catching him. She folded up her cell phone. We're positive there is no contamination, but it's a good way to reassure our customers. We're running a hot delivery vans up and down Swanston Street. No contamination? It was a mixture of flour and food dye, just a prank. Oh, I didn't realize, Vi said. He still didn't want a cheeseburger. You and the whole general public. We've got a H of a PR job. I've got half of my staff down here to gorge themselves on Happy Meals. Vi looked around. Now that Lucia mentioned it, there was a certain uniformity about all the customers. Most had cell phones pressed to their ears. A few had notebook computers. Do you know who attacked the store? As of this morning, yes. Security cameras saw them come out of the store and exited onto the street. We got cooperation from a couple of stores along Burke Street, ran their security tapes, and saw which parking lot they went into. One of them paid with a Visa card. Since Visa's in US Islands, voila. One billing address for a Mr. Hack Nike. Vi blinked. He wondered if it was a coincidence that the attack worked for Nike like John. There was probably more going on here than Vi was aware of. Have you reported this to the government? Lucia smiled. We don't work that way, Vi. Too public. We'll talk this to Hack Nike and said. By talk, you mean? She leaned forward. I mean, we'll mount a very persuasive case as to why he should never try anything like that again. I see, Vi said. I'd like to talk to him first, if you don't mind. John Nike wants to know what these people are about. Yes, John, Lucia said. Her eyes shone. I must say, it's very flattering that he's taken a personal interest. How do you know him? It's complicated. I hope you'll tell him how grateful I am for his assistance. If he's ever in town, I'd love to take him to dinner. I will tell him, Vi promised. So, let me write the details down for you. On the Bethel Eastern Freeway, en route to Kate's school, Vi dialed the number Lucia had given him. A young woman answered. Hello, Vi said. Can I speak to Hack Nike, please? He's not here, she said, a little aggressively, Vi thought. He doesn't live here anymore, okay? Oh, do you know where? Try Claire Sears, sales assistant. Why don't you look her up? I'm sure you'll find Hack there. Vi said, thank you. He hung up. That was strange. He called directory information and got a number for Claire Sears. Claire had an answering machine. Vi told it, Hi, my name is Vi Mitsui. I've heard about your group, about what you do, and I'd like to be part of it. Please call me back as soon as you can. He ended the call. He felt kind of bad laying a trap like that. Before he left McDonald's, Lucia had showed him the tape of the attack, and Vi was surprised by how amateurish it all was. On the news, it had sounded like a strange chemical weapons attack. They're kids, he said to Lucia, just kids. They got us $20 million in brand damage, Lucia had said. Don't feel too sorry for them. Vi was early, so he parked the Jeep and ducked inside, hoping to see Kate's classroom. There were pictures of Barbie dolls and Hot Wheels cars plastered everywhere. This was a Mattel school, Vi realized. He suddenly understood why Kate had a Barbie lunchbox. A security guard stepped in front of him. Help you, sir? Oh, Vi said, startled. I'm just picking up my kid. Students will be collected from the gate, sir, the guard said. Please wait outside. Oh, sure. He turned and walked back. That was a pity, but he supposed the precautions were necessary. You never knew when some lunatic would try to snatch a kid. Kate was one of the first out of the gates. She ran toward him, her school bag bouncing on her back. Vi, did you get my virtual animals? He opened the door for her. I think you need to explain this whole concept to me again. Vi, it's simple. He started the engine. To a smart girl like you, maybe. A man came in to talk to us today, Kate said. He said some companies are bad. Do you work for a bad company? What? He said the bad companies ganged up on the good companies and they were going to fight. US Alliance and Team Advantage? Yes, this is what they teach you. The good companies are, I forget, me too, said Vi. I know Mattel is a good one. There aren't really good companies and bad companies, Kate. It's not that simple. But Mattel looks after kids in schools. There was this sick kid. They gave him a heap of toys. The other companies are mean and greedy. In a way, all companies are greedy. That's why they make things for us. It's how the system works. Can I get a treat since you didn't download any animals? Vi smiled. What kind of treat? A bouncing Beanie Baby. I'm surprised you can buy them at school. Vi said, I'm surprised they're not mandatory. Mattel doesn't make bouncing Beanie Babies, but I like them. You're a rebel. Can I? Sure, I suppose. Thanks, the Chadstone Mall is on the way home. Let's go somewhere else. But you said, just not at Chadstone. Vi said, please, I don't want to go to Chadstone. Oh, she said, okay. They drove in silence for a while. Then Kate said, do you think Mommy will call again? Vi looked at her. I'm sure she will the second she can. It sounded bad where she was, noisy. She'll be fine, I'm sure. I hope she calls again, Kate said. She bit her fingernail and inspected it. What about Sears? They tell them there. Can you get a bouncing Beanie Baby at Sears? Yes, Vi said. We can go to Sears. 65. Billy. Billy woke to Jennifer's elbow in the ribs. Hey, trying to sleep here. We've landed. Oh, he followed Calvin into the aisle and stretched, cracking his knuckles. Don't do that, Calvin said. Sorry. Calvin looked tired and cranky, which was good because that meant he wouldn't chase Billy so fast. Billy was pretty sure there would be some chasing because as soon as he got his chance he was going to run like F. He'd had a lot of time to think about this and decided it was definitely better than the alternative, which was sitting around and waiting for the NRA to pop him. That John Nike had been pretty convincing. Jennifer and Calvin escorted him off the plane, keeping between him and the other passengers. A neon sign said, Welcome to L.A., home of U.S. Alliance. Man, it feels good to be home, Billy said, inhaling. Smell that air. Wow. It's air conditioning, Jennifer said. He spotted a sign. Hey, bathroom, I gotta pee. Wait until the hotel. Come on, I just woke up. I really have to go. Jennifer looked at Calvin. Calvin said, Come on, then. Good deal, Billy said. Jennifer put her hand on his arm. The NRA may know we're here. Be careful. Well, okay, sure. He tried to look solemn. If Jennifer thought Billy's chances were better than hanging around with a couple of jet-lagged government agents, she was nuts. He followed Calvin into the restroom. Calvin checked the stalls, which allowed Billy to get a head start. By the time Calvin unzipped, Billy was shaking off. So you're with Jen a long time? About a year. Man, how do you put up with it? The chick drives me nuts after 5 minutes. He zipped. She has redeeming qualities, Calvin said, and Billy slammed his face into the wall. It made a loud chunk, and Calvin bounced back on the tiles. Billy ran for the exit. Jennifer saw him emerge. Her mouth dropped. She looked so surprised and outraged that Billy got the giggles. She was 40 feet away. He took off in the other direction. Stop, Billy! He leapt a row of potted plants, sprinted past counters for rental cars. The main exit was ahead, and there were cabs waiting patiently on the street. He was halfway onto one of them when a man in a black airport transport uniform caught his shoulder. Can you a cab, sir? Yeah. The man looked at his clipboard. Then he looked up. Billy NRA? Billy stopped. Yeah, who are you? Hold this, will you? The man handed him a clipboard. Billy looked at it, confused, and had a photograph of himself tucked into the top right corner. He didn't understand why this man would have this photo or why he wanted Billy to look at it. Then the man pulled a gun from his pocket, and everything became much clearer. No, he tripped over the curb and sprawled on the concrete. No, please. Sorry, the man said. Billy could see his eye above the barrel. He could see his finger squeezing the trigger. There were 2 shots, sharp and loud. He felt his body explode, felt blood erupt from him. He couldn't believe it was happening. All he wanted was to go skiing, and he was being shot to death in an L.A. airport. He screamed and screamed. Come on, Jennifer said. Get up. He opened his eyes. There was a dead man slumped against the cab. He looked down. I'm hit. The blood. It's not yours. Hurry up. She touched his belly, then his legs. See, she said. Now move your butt. Let's not assume there's only one of them. She hauled him to his feet and followed him into a cab. Calvin opened the other door. Calvin had a bruise above his right eye like an egg was trying to push its way out of his skull. I think you owe someone an apology, Jennifer said. Sorry, Calvin, Billy said. Calvin said nothing. Billy thought he might have reached the end of Calvin's government's goodwill. And thanks for shooting that guy, Jen. Try that again, she said, and next time I'll shoot you. I won't try it again, Billy said, but that was a lie, of course. 66, Jennifer. She wasn't thrilled about leaving a dead guy on the sidewalk, but it was either that or stick around and exchange words with however many NRA operatives were hanging around. The cab driver kept his mouth shut all the way to the hotel in Santa Monica, which she figured was understandable given what he'd just seen. She probably tipped him very well. Look at all these people, Calvin said, peering out of the window. Is every shop in the city having a sale? Check out the U.S. Alliance billboard, Billy said. Go home, carpetbaggers. Man, that's funny. Where's Team Advantage from? New York. Jennifer said. Huh, Billy said. Figures. A cab dropped them outside the hotel. It was a sunny, clear morning, and she thought she could smell the ocean. She couldn't deny it. Some part of her was excited to be here. It had been a long time since she was last in L.A. She fought off the men who very much wanted to carry her bag and made her way to the reception desk. A man in a demanding uniform said, Are you U.S. Alliance members? Billy, she ordered. Billy produced his card. Are you a member, ma'am? I intend to sign up, Jennifer said, real soon. He slid two clipboards across the counter. You'll need to do that before you check in. It's an excellent program. You can earn... Jennifer, someone said. Holy crap, Jennifer Mayer? She turned. A suit with brown hair and shiny shoes was staring at her. She searched her memory for a name. Max? I thought you dropped off the end of the earth, Barbie doll. What are you doing back in town? I'm here on business. She felt Calvin's eyes on her. Do your form, she told him. Are you still in advertising? I freelance. Whoa, hey, Max said. If you want work, let's talk. He pressed a business card into her hand. It said, Max Synergy, CEO, Synergy Campaigns. I have my own agency these days. We do work for U.S. Alliance. Have you seen it? I would love to have you on board, Malibu. People in the industry still remember you. That's nice, but I'm not looking for work. Oh, well, keep me in mind. Hey, do you want to catch up later? How about I call you? Okay, Max said. Wow, it was great to run into you. Really great. Calvin didn't say anything until they were in the elevator. Then it was too quiet. She couldn't handle the waiting. Go on, say it. Say what? She looked at him. You used to work in L.A.? Mayer is based here. Huh, Calvin said. So this is like a homecoming for you. No, it isn't, but Calvin was right. She could feel it in her bones. She called Kate, and it was wonderful. Kate was full of stories about what she and Vi had been doing, and listening to her voice, Jennifer started to feel much less like she'd spent the entire last week in an economy-class plane seat, and more like a human being. I miss you so much, she said, and Calvin and Billy glanced at her. After that, she pulled out the phone book and did her journalist routine. Call up U.S. Alliance, pretend to be from NSNBC, say she wanted to interview John Nike. She was transferred to an assistant who said John was in an important meeting, and anyway, he didn't do interviews with non-U.S. Alliance media. Thanks anyway, Jennifer said and hung up. Now she had confirmation he was there. There was a problem with Billy. He didn't want to be left handcuffed to a towel reel. Will only be a few hours, she said. What's the big deal? What if the NRA comes in here? Now you want our protection? I thought you were better off in your own. Well, now I see you were right about that, Billy said. I'll cuff you to the minibar instead, she said. You can snack. How about that? Oh, man, Billy said. They left him, hoping a cleaner wouldn't stumble onto him. The cab took 40 minutes to reach U.S. Alliance building on Main and Central because downtown was jammed with people. What's going on? She asked the driver. Some kind of riot? Yeah, some kind, all right. It's the sales. What sales? Are you kidding me? U.S. Alliance and Team Advantage. If you haven't signed up yet, lady, now's the time. You can get some amazing bargains. Jennifer said. She saw two men fighting over a VCR in the window of a Sears. Store security were trying to break them up. Across the doors of a Kmart were spray-painted the words, TA, not in L.A. Can you let us out here? They walked the remaining 2 blocks of the U.S. Alliance Tower, squeezing through the throng of shoppers. Wow, Jen, Calvin said. These are some good deals right here. He stopped in front of a window. Widescreen TVs for $200. Can that be right? She kept walking. After a minute, Calvin caught up with her. Okay, sure, all this is terrible, really, but since we're here, you could pick something up nice. Jennifer stopped across the road. U.S. Alliance building, ringed with NRA soldiers. She saw helmets, assault rifles, shields. What? Calvin said, and then saw, oh crap. You think that's to stop us, or Team Advantage? Maybe both, she frowned. So what do we do now? I think I call Max, she said.